George Washington's birthday is technically on February 22nd, but since 1968, Americans celebrated it on February 21st together with President's Day. George Washington presided over the United States as its first president from 1789 to 1797. During that time, he established a great number of precedents for our embryonic government and led the young country through its formative years. Many of the first president's quotes have persisted to this day because of his reputation for leadership and verbal prowess. If the freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led, like sheep to the slaughter. My mother was the most beautiful woman I ever saw. All I am I owe to my mother. I attribute my success in life to the moral, intellectual and physical education I received from her. It is better to offer no excuse than a bad one. Be courteous to all, but intimate with few, and let those few be well tried before you give them your confidence. True friendship is a plant of slow growth and must undergo and withstand the shocks of adversity before it is entitled to appellation. Guard against the impostures of pretended patriotism. Let us therefore animate and encourage each other, and show the whole world that a freeman, contending for liberty on his own ground, is superior to any slavish mercenary on earth. Labor to keep alive in your breast that little spark of celestial fire called conscience. Associate yourself with men of good quality, if you esteem your own reputation, for 'tis better to be alone than in bad company. Experience teaches us that it is much easier to prevent an enemy from posting themselves than it is to dislodge them after they have got possession. Human happiness and moral duty are inseparably connected. A bad war is fought with a good mind. Happiness depends more upon the internal frame of a person's own mind, than on the externals in the world. I hope I shall possess firmness and virtue enough to maintain what I consider the most enviable of all titles, the character of an honest man. There is nothing which can better deserve our patronage than the promotion of science and literature. Knowledge is in every country the surest basis of public happiness. Perseverance and spirit have done wonders in all ages. I hold the maxim no less applicable to public than to private affairs, that honesty is always the best policy. No punishment, in my opinion, is too great, for the man who can build his greatness upon his country's ruin. Be courteous to all, but intimate with few, and let those be well tried before you give them your confidence. Discipline is the soul of an army. It makes small numbers formidable, procures success to the weak, and esteem to all. We should not look back unless it is to derive useful lessons from past errors, and for the purpose of profiting by dearly bought experience. To persevere in one's duty, and be silent is the best answer to calumny. To encourage literature and the arts is a duty which every good citizen owes to his country. Where are our men of abilities? Why do they not come forth to save their country? We must consult our means rather than our wishes. The turning points of lives are not the great moments. The real crises are often concealed in occurrences so trivial in appearance that they pass unobserved. I conceive a knowledge of books as the basis upon which other knowledge is to be built. Paper money has had the effect in your state that it will ever have, to ruin commerce, oppress the honest, and open the door to every species of fraud and injustice. Let your heart feel for the afflictions and distress of everyone. If we desire to avoid insult, we must be able to repel it. If we desire to secure peace, one of the most powerful instruments of our rising prosperity, it must be known that we are at all times ready for war. The great rule of conduct for us, in regard to foreign nations, is, in extending our commercial relations, to have with them as little political connection as possible. Worry is the interest paid by those who borrow trouble. As mankind becomes more liberal, they will be more apt to allow that all those who conduct themselves as worthy members of the community are equally entitled to the protection of the civil government. I hope ever to see America among the foremost nations of justice and liberality. There is nothing so likely to produce peace as to be well prepared to meet the enemy. 99% of failures come from people who make excuses. Few men have virtue to withstand the highest bidder. It is better to be alone than in bad company. A free people ought not only to be armed, but disciplined, to which end a uniform and well-digested plan is requisite. and their safety and interest require that they should promote such manufactories as tend to render them independent of others for essential, particularly military, supplies. If to please the people, we offer what we ourselves disapprove, how can we afterwards defend our work? Let us raise a standard to which the wise and honest can repair. The rest is in the hands of God. Speak not evil of the absent, for it is unjust. Nothing is more essential than that permanent, inveterate antipathies against particular nations, and passionate attachments for others, should be excluded, and that, in place of them, just and amicable feelings towards all should be cultivated. Anything will give up its secrets if you love it enough. Not only have I found that when I talk to the little flower or to the little peanut they will give up their secrets, but I have found that when I silently commune with people they give up their secrets also, if you love them enough. Interwoven as is the love of liberty with every ligament of your hearts, no recommendation of mine is necessary to fortify or confirm the attachment. Arbitrary power is most easily established on the ruins of liberty abused to licentiousness. Some day, following the example of the United States of America, there will be a United States of Europe. No pecuniary consideration is more urgent than the regular redemption and discharge of the public debt. On none can delay be more injurious, or an economy of time more valuable. Decision-making, like coffee, needs a cooling process. Every day the increasing weight of years admonishes me more and more that the shade of retirement is as necessary to me as it will be welcome. The great mass of our citizens require only to understand matters rightly, to form right decisions. A man ought not to value himself of his achievements or rare qualities of wit, much less of his riches, virtue or kindred. Harmony, liberal intercourse with all nations, are recommended by policy, humanity, and interest. A slender acquaintance with the world must convince every man that actions, not words, are the true criterion of the attachment of friends. Strive not with your superiors in argument, but always submit your judgment to others with modesty. Gentlemen, you will permit me to put on my spectacles, for I have grown not only gray but almost blind in the service of my country. The basis of our political system is the right of the people to make and to alter their constitutions of government. No people can be bound to acknowledge the invisible hand which conducts the affairs of men more than the people of the United States. Every step by which they have advanced to the character of an independent nation seems to have been distinguished by some token of providential agency. Be not glad at the misfortune of another, though he may be your enemy. Make sure you are doing what God wants you to do, then do it with all your strength. Unhappy it is, though, to reflect that a brother's sword has been sheathed in a brother's breast and that the once happy plains of America are either to be drenched with blood or inhabited by slaves. Sad alternative. But can a virtuous man hesitate in his choice? Let your conversation be without malice or envy, for it is a sign of a tractable and commendable nature, and in all cases of passion admit reason to govern. Liberty, when it begins to take root, is a plant of rapid growth. Promote, then, as an object of primary importance, institutions for the general diffusion of knowledge. In proportion as the structure of a government gives force to public opinion, it is essential that public opinion should be enlightened. The basis of our political systems is the right of the people to make and to alter their constitutions of government. Wherein you reprove another be unblameable yourself, for example, is more prevalent than precepts. We should not look back unless it is to derive useful lessons from past errors, and for the purpose of profiting by dearly bought experience. The time is near at hand which must determine whether Americans are to be free men or slaves. How far you go in life depends on your being tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant of the weak and the strong. Because someday in life you will have been all of these. Religious controversies are always productive of more acrimony and irreconcilable hatreds than those which spring from any other cause. Arbitrary power is most easily established on the ruins of liberty abused to licentiousness. Reason and experience both forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail in exclusion of religious principles. Much was to be done by prudence, much by conciliation, much by firmness. While we are zealously performing the duties of good citizens and soldiers, we certainly ought not to be inattentive to the higher duties of religion. To the distinguished character of patriot, it should be our highest glory to add the more distinguished character of Christian. To be prepared for war is one of the most effective means of preserving peace. I'll die on my feet before I'll live on my knees. I had rather be on my farm than be emperor of the world. The basis of our political system is the right of the people to make and to alter their constitutions of government. Laws made by common consent must not be trampled on by individuals. Worry is the interest paid by those who borrow trouble. True friendship is a plant of slow growth, and must undergo and withstand the shocks of adversity, before it is entitled to the appellation. Let us raise a standard to which the wise and honest can repair, the rest is in the hands of God. I beg you be persuaded that no one would be more zealous than myself to establish effectual barriers against the horrors of spiritual tyranny, and every species of religious persecution. Experience has taught us, that men will not adopt and carry into execution measures best calculated for their own good, without the intervention of a coercive power. Mankind, when left to themselves, are unfit for their own government. The time is near at hand which must determine whether Americans are to be free men or slaves. The nation which indulges toward another a habitual hatred or a habitual fondness is in some degree a slave. It is a slave to its animosity or to its affection, either of which is sufficient to lead it astray from its duty and its interest. Let us with caution indulge the supposition that morality can be maintained without religion. Reason and experience both forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail in exclusion of religious principle. Overgrown military establishments are under any form of government inauspicious to liberty, and are to be regarded as particularly hostile to republican liberty. Observe good faith and justice toward all nations. Cultivate peace and harmony with all. Of all the animosities which have existed among mankind, those which are caused by a difference of sentiments in religion appear to be the most inveterate and distressing, and ought most to be deprecated. Bad seed is a robbery of the worst kind, for your pocketbook not only suffers by it, but your preparations are lost and a season passes away unimproved. It is absolutely necessary for me to have persons that can think for me, as well as execute orders. My first wish is to see this plague of mankind, war, banished from the earth. If the freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led, like sheep to the slaughter. Every post is honorable in which a man can serve his country. Death, the abyss from where no traveler is permitted to return.